Hi guys, and welcome to the Fleetwood vs Sunderland match review in the Papa John's Trophy, the Stuffed Crust tournament, as some people have been calling it, i.e. me. But yeah, I wasn't originally going to be making a video or a match review for this game, given the nature of the tournament and the sort of calibre of the tournament and obviously the conditions of the game itself. You know, whoever won that game, it didn't really matter because they were going through anyway, and I'm not particularly bothered about the tournament itself, as I kind of alluded to. But I think I just kind of wanted to because of the players that did take part, and there's quite a lot of youngsters in there, and there was a few things I did want to say just generally about some of these players, and I think they deserve a bit of airtime in terms of credit and compliments, because some of the players last night against Fleetwood, they were very, very good, and I was really, really impressed with a good handful of those youngsters last night. So we'll get into the game itself. So we started off with Patterson in goal. It was his debut for the club. We had Willis in the middle of a back three. On the left-hand side of him, we had Oliver Younger. On the right-hand side, we had Brendan Taylor. As the wing-back on the right, we had Jack Diamond. On the left, we had McFadden. Now, in the middle, as sort of a trio, was Dobson, Dan Neil, and also Embleton. With up top, we had O'Brien and Hawkes as well, another player who I was very excited to see. So getting into the game, and for the first sort of opening few minutes, you know, particularly after looking at Fleetwood's lineup, don't get me wrong, it wasn't their first team lineup or the first strength lineup itself. I'm not going to sit and pretend I'm too clued up with the Fleetwood squad, I'm not, but I did speak to my cousin who worked for the club and was there last night, and she basically just said that, you know, it's sort of course it's not full strength, but it wasn't quite as drastically changed as ours. Ours was almost sort of like 70% our under 21s or under 23s, however you want to label it. They did have quite a few first team players, or at least squad players within that squad, with only 2 or 3 of the youngsters. So I felt like this was a really good challenge for the youngsters and a good opportunity to express themselves. And as I say, for the opening sort of 2 or 3 minutes, it looked as though Fleetwood were going to be on top. They were pinging balls into the box. I think at one point Patterson had to make a relatively simple save at the near post, but as soon as we kind of calmed down their play and their flurry for the opening 2 or 3 minutes, we were absolutely fantastic for that opening half. And that first half in general, I'm going to say it already, was probably the most exciting and entertaining first half we've had from a Sunderland team this season. Maybe 2 seasons, you never know, but it was just so attacking, it was so creative, it was so quick, and there was so much freedom within the play, and we were making chances, and they weren't just sort of like, you know, half chances here and there. They were really well created and orchestrated chances. You had Embleton getting involved, Neil starting off the play. With Neil, of course, I've already, you know, I've given him plenty of credit in the past and said how good I think this lad is and the potential this lad has. But he's just so brave. He's not bothered about, you know, getting stuck into a challenge. But then on the ball, he looks so comfortable. He looks so technically gifted. He's pinging balls left, right, and centre, and every single pass is inch perfect. The way he just floats balls from the centre over to the left wing or to the right wing, vice versa, they're inch perfect. And he almost reminded me a little bit of a younger Grant Ledbetter in the role that Ledbetter plays now. Because at times, even though Dobson was supposed to be playing the sort of holding midfielder, there was times where Neil would literally come deep for it, and he'd ask for the ball and he'd take it off our back line, and then he'd bring it forward and he'd be pinging them out left, right and centre, and he was brilliant at doing that. And then he was starting off attacks, and of course Embleton, the way he is, and I've said for many years now how much I rate Embleton, and you can just see he's so both-footed. Like, you'd never be able to tell in a million years what his stronger foot is, because he's so good with both feet. He was creating, playing some really good passes, playing good 1-2s with players who were coming in from the wings or the wing backs, and we started to create a lot, and we just looked so exciting with little triangles around the box and then creating a chance that might not quite come off. I won't go into too much detail, but one of our first opening chances was a good passing move that I think it fell to O'Brien, who mishit his shot, but it was a really, really good build up to that opportunity beforehand, with the likes of McFadden linking up with Embleton, as I mentioned, Neil as well. Diamond was getting at them down the right hand side with so much pace. He's so direct, and the way he pings balls into the box, it's not the kind of cross that we often see. We normally have like Maguire, who usually puts like a whipped ball in, but he really pings them in Diamond, and they're not just hoofs either. They're really accurate, but he puts so much pace on them, and it really sort of it unsettles defenders because they don't know how to deal with that, particularly when their ball's coming in at pace. When you're defending, it can be a bit of a nightmare to deal with. But yeah, we did get a chance as well through Oliver Younger, who I'll get onto as well. A ball was put into the box, and he was there at the back post. It was a great cross from Elliot Embleton, and there is Younger, and it's a diving header. And I tell you what, the power he got behind that, I said it on social media, it was mad. The power he got behind the diving header, it was like it literally just looked like a strong foot shot, and the same amount of power you get from hitting it with your stronger foot. And he's absolutely belted it with this diving header. It's beat the keeper. It's hit the underside of the bar, and they managed to clear it away eventually, which is unfortunate for him because I'll get onto Younger now. He looked very, very good. Again, I said it on social media. For someone who I don't know a massive amount about, I'm not going to pretend I do, he was the biggest surprise package because before when I look at the lineup at first, I just see him as another youngster who's covering at the back, and I'm looking at more exciting players like Neil. I'm looking at, of course, Diamond and Embleton, Hawks as well, who I've heard of, is doing very well in the younger ranks in the youth squad. But Younger, he was very, very impressive. He was so solid in the air. Every ball that was threw forward, he was absolutely battering that Fleetwood front line, winning everything in the air. He looked very comfortable on the ball. A couple of dummies past players, sort of selling them that he's going to hoof the ball and then he'll cut inside. His passing ability looked very decent, looked very calm on the ball. I was very, very impressed. And as soon as I started saying that on social media and expressing how good I think Younger has been, he got himself injured. First of a couple of injuries, or 3 injuries, should I say, of the game, but we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so the first goal, it did find its way back to McFadden after a good passing move. Still attacking as usual, as we were throughout the majority of that first half, as I do believe we dominated and we should have gone up or gone into half time, good 2 or 3 goals to the good, but it did fall back to McFadden. He's hit it hard and low, it skidded across the wet surface, it's gone in off the far post. It was a very, very good finish from him, and he was very, very good as well, McFadden. He looked brilliant. Unfortunately, he's another player that went off injured. But anyway, yeah, so it went into half time, 1-0 up, fully deserved. I was really, really excited, but just before half time, of course, Younger had to come off and he was replaced with another youngster. Youngster, yeah, whatever. He was replaced. I think it was Steels who replaced him. But yes, we get to the second half, and you can see because we've had to make this change with Younger coming off, it kind of dismantled us a little bit, and it looked very disjointed because then obviously McFadden comes off, and the other youngster as well had to come off. I forget names, I do apologise, but yes, so we had 3 left-sided centre backs injured and having to come off, forced to come off. It was all our subs throughout the game. And Dobson ended up playing on the left side of that centre-back position, which was quite frustrating because I think at one point we did have another centre-back on the bench to use, but he decided to go with Dobson to go there. But it just disjointed us, and we collapsed from there. And you can see the youngsters were struggling to deal with it, and we conceded 2 goals, which of course led on to Fleetwood winning the game 2-1, which there wasn't too much the keeper could do about these goals. Defensively, we looked absolutely all over the place for them. And I think we can, push most of the blame onto the fact that we had to change the formation. Well, not the formation, but the personnel. The personnel, should I say? I keep stuttering now. What's wrong with me? But yeah, we had to change personnel. The system was just completely disjointed. I think the thing that probably disappointed me a little bit more, I don't know whether I'm being harsh here, but after we did concede that first goal in the second half, relatively early on, mind you, the young lads' heads. They seemed to go down very, very easily. They looked like they were affected quite significantly simply just by conceding a goal, which it's fine for a period, but I think the term down tools is a little bit harsh, but borderline down tools. The second we conceded the first goal, they just kind of looked like they lost their heads a bit. Their heads were down as well. They were giving away daft free kicks here and there, and they just lost their heads a little bit, which I think will just come with experience. But with that sort of comfort on the ball, their confidence on the ball as well, that just seemed to disappear. We were struggling to string a couple of passes together, and eventually I'd say Fleetwood deserved their win with how dominant they were in the second. We did make the odd chance here and there, don't get me wrong, but all in all, I think for me, I looked at that game. I'm not really asked about the result whatsoever, but the performance in the first half is why I'm essentially making this video, because some of those young players were absolutely fantastic, and I think for Embleton to get himself 90 minutes as well, it is so important because he's been out for so long. I think that's his first 90 minutes or at least full 90 minutes for almost 2 years, which is great for him. Well, I say 2 years. I think it was Burnley in the FA Cup or League Cup, whichever one it was, where we beat Burnley. I think that was his last 90 minutes, which was a year or 2 ago. I can't remember now. But either way, yeah, so that's a really big positive. Neil looked great. younger, looked very, very impressive before he went off. Like I say, McFadden looked very good. I think that I've been asked on social media to compare the likes of McFadden and Hume. I'd still go with Hume personally. I think McFadden is very good in the ball and he can create chances, maybe a better final product in terms of crosses as well. But Hume just has that raw pace and the dribbling ability to single-handedly drag us up the pitch when we have our backs against the wall or we're just simply not creating, which comes quite a lot in games with us because our first team doesn't have a massive amount of creativity in the times where we are kind of sitting back and we're just absorbing pressure, and our build-up play is just far too slow, whereas when we need that little bit of oomph and spark, Denver Hume just single-handedly just drags us up the pitch on that left-hand side, whether he's sticking on the left or he cuts inside, and he does that for us so well, and I don't think we really have any other players that can do that so single-handedly, as I say. So for me, I'd still stick with Hume, but McFadden certainly hasn't done himself any problems because he's been really, really good. He's been really, really impressive, and he got himself a deserved goal as well. But yeah, so it was really good to see the youngsters. All of them have a case, or a lot of them have a case to at least be around the first team squad, which should hopefully give Parkhurst a headache. But with Parkhurst, I've said it before, I think he has such a lack of trust in youngsters. I think we could have won that game 6-7-0, and he probably would have been pissed off because he'd have to consider using them, or at least one or two of them at the weekend. He just doesn't seem to trust the youngsters, in my opinion, anyway. Whereas I'd love to see the likes of Ledbetter, Neil, and Embleton in the midfield. I'd love to see that, or maybe Neil on the bench at least, and then have Scowen and Embleton in there for that energy. But I feel like the likes of Embleton and Neil could walk into this midfield for us at the minute, absolutely, because Power doesn't offer much. Dobbs, another last night, I don't think he did badly at all. A couple of misplaced passes here and there, but there was some very, very good challenges, very good tracking back, and he did bring it up the pitch a few times as well. So I can't sit here and slate Dobson, even though it's pretty well known now I'm not his biggest fan anymore. Anyway, so yeah, but I feel like the likes of Neil, Embleton should definitely be in and around the squad. Diamond should be getting involved a bit more. I think the thing with Diamond that frustrates me a little bit is he reminded me a bit of Duncan Watmore last night, mixed with Gooch, because sometimes, obviously, Gooch, although he has that little bit more quality, of course, Gooch can be a bit guilty of taking on a player that he wants to go back and do it again, rather than just getting the ball in the box or just taking a bit too long to make decisions. And Diamond did that a couple of times, and then he also reminded me of Duncan Watmore, because he'd be coming down that right hand side, and he ran it at a player a good 3 or 4 times last night just because he just boots the ball in front of him and runs. And that's what Watmore did. He just forgot that he was in a football pitch and there isn't an end to it. Do you know what I mean? He's just so obsessed with getting to the byline, which is a good thing, but you need to have the control to do it, the ball control to do it, and he just kept accidentally just taking one touch too many and running it out when it was really needless, and he wasn't under a massive amount of pressure either. So so Diamond, even with those sort of little downfalls at the minute, he can work on that, and he definitely looks like he should be at least in and around the matchday squad. But for man of the match, I would probably give it to Embleton. I just feel like he just had such a touch of class. He really did. Just pinging balls left, right, and centre. So creative. He just gets in the hole and finds little gaps in the opposition where he managed to tuck himself into, and he's constantly asking questions of the opposition. That's something we need. That bit of creativity. And I think it would probably be a bit too soon to put him straight into the first team squad, given it was only his first 90 minutes. But I think after giving him a bit more time around the first team, bring him on as a sub a couple of times, then he should be starting, because hands down is the most creative player in our squad, in my opinion. He's that good. I rate him that highly, and his delivery is absolutely excellent, So that is my thoughts on the game last night. Again, I wasn't really going to make a review for this game, given the stature and nature of the game, but I just thought that the youngsters deserved a bit of praise, because they absolutely do. So that'll be it, guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already, to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jump.